It's funny how I used to think of financial struggles as something that only happened to other people. I remember hearing my parents talk about money when I was younger, the tension in their voices when bills came up, or the way they'd look at each other before deciding whether we could afford something. I never understood why they were always so stressed. Now, I get it. I'm 24. I'm fresh out of college, working my first real job, an entry-level position at a marketing firm. They say you're supposed to feel excited, proud, like you're starting your adult life. But mostly, I just feel suffocated. The pressure of trying to live up to some ideal version of adulthood is overwhelming, especially when you're barely making ends meet. When I took this job, I thought the paycheck would be enough. After all, it's a full-time role with benefits, something I was supposed to be grateful for, right? But the reality is different. My rent is high, way too high for what I'm making, and even with my roommate, it feels like I'm paying half of my income just to have a roof over my head. When I moved in, I told myself it would be worth it, that being closer to work would make it easier, and the extra amenities would be nice. But now, I can't help but wonder if I should have just moved back in with my parents for a little while longer. At least then, I wouldn't feel this constant weight on my shoulders. Then there's the student loan payment. They call it manageable, but it doesn't feel manageable. It feels like a heavy, invisible weight that pulls me down every month, reminding me of all the choices I made, all the investment that was supposed to pay off. But here I am, with a degree that got me into this job but hasn't moved me any closer to feeling secure. The bills are never ending, and they seem to grow faster than my paycheck can. Groceries, gas, utilities, they keep inching up, and there's not much I can do about it. I watch the prices rise on everything, from the basic necessities to the occasional splurge I allow myself to feel normal. A dinner out with friends, a night at the movies, a pair of shoes that I convince myself are a necessary purchase. Those small luxuries used to feel like treats, but now, they just remind me that I'm always just one paycheck away from falling behind. And it's exhausting. The emotional toll is the hardest part. I don't think people talk enough about how financially struggling impacts your mental health. It's not just the stress of not having enough money. It's the shame, the guilt, the feeling that everyone else is doing better than you. Everyone's got a vacation planned or a new gadget or a shiny new piece of furniture for their apartment. And here I am, calculating how much I can spend on gas this week while hoping that I don't have an unexpected expense that'll throw me off course. Some days, I feel trapped. Like I'm running on a treadmill that's set too fast, but I can't step off without falling. I don't know how to change the direction I'm heading in, but I don't feel like I can afford to stop moving. When I'm awake, I'm working, or planning my next step. When I sleep, I dream about being debt-free, about traveling, about having the space to breathe without feeling like my finances are always in the back of my mind. And it's not just the obvious pressures. It's the social pressure too. When you're living paycheck to paycheck, you're always holding back. I'm exhausted from trying to balance the image I project to the world with the reality of what's going on behind the scenes. People don't see me sitting in my car after work, staring at my phone, trying to figure out if I can afford that online order I've been thinking about for a week. They don't see me avoiding social plans because I can't afford to go out or spending a weekend at home because I can't justify spending money on a simple treat, even though I know it would do wonders for my mental health. Sometimes, I wonder if I'm doing something wrong. If I'm not managing my money properly, if I'm not being resourceful enough. But then I look at the world around me, my friends, my coworkers, and realize that they're in the same boat. Everyone I know is dealing with the same pressures. We're all just trying to make it work. Everyone's pretending, to some degree, that they've got it together. But we don't. It's hard to be optimistic when you feel like you're stuck in a cycle that's only getting harder. I used to dream about starting my own business, about traveling the world, about living in a place I could call my own without worrying about whether I can afford it next month. But now, I'm not even sure what the future holds. Some days, I'm lucky if I can just get through the week without falling behind. Dreams like mine feel too far out of reach, like something I'll get to someday, but that day never seems to come. I do what I can to cope. I cut back where I can, on the small things, like coffee, or shopping, or even going out. I find ways to make the little moments feel special without costing anything. I cook at home as much as possible, which helps me feel a little bit in control. But there's always this nagging voice in my head that tells me it's not enough. That I'll never get ahead. Some days are better than others. Sometimes I can convince myself that this is just a phase, that I'm doing the best I can, and it will get better. But on the days when the weight feels too heavy, when the stress of not having enough is too much to carry, I just want to scream. I want to shake myself and say, "You deserve better than this." But who am I kidding? The world doesn't care that I deserve better. I don't have all the answers. I don't know how to fix it. But I'm still holding on to the hope that things will get better, that somehow, I'll find a way to make my dreams happen, even if I have to take tiny steps. Maybe it won't happen in the way I thought it would, but I have to believe that there's a way out of this. That I won't always feel trapped. Until then, I'll keep working. I'll keep budgeting. I'll keep pushing forward, even though some days, it feels like I'm just surviving rather than living. Because I have to. I have no choice. Maybe tomorrow will be a little easier. Maybe next month will be better. Maybe, just maybe, the future I've dreamed of is still out there, waiting for me, even if it feels impossible right now. But it's hard to shake the feeling that the future I want is always just beyond my reach. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. It helps the content grow and motivates me to create even more great videos. Turn on notifications so you don't miss any new uploads. By the way, I'm curious, when do you usually watch my videos? While working, studying, or just relaxing at home? Let me know in the comments, I'd love to hear from you. Thank you for your support. It's like I'm running in place, but no matter how hard I push myself, I can't seem to get ahead. Every day is a fight against this invisible tide of rising costs, this crushing weight of bills and prices and expectations that never seem to let up. I used to believe, naively, that if I worked hard enough, if I just kept pushing forward, I'd be able to climb out of the hole. But now, the hole feels deeper, the walls smoother, the climb steeper. It's hard to even describe the anxiety, the exhaustion that hits me every time I check my bank account. I can't remember the last time I felt financially secure. Hell, I can barely remember a time when I felt truly free of money stress. Every morning, I wake up to a phone full of notifications, reminders about bills, a low balance on my account, a new wave of emails urging me to buy this or subscribe to that. In this world, I feel like I'm constantly behind, always catching up, never actually reaching the future I thought I'd have. I'm 23. Young, I know, but it feels like I've already lived a lifetime in terms of financial struggle. College debt? Check. Rent that's almost impossible to keep up with? Check. Car payment that eats away at the little that's left after everything else? Double check. I can't even remember the last time I felt excited to go out with friends without the overwhelming anxiety of how much it'll cost. Sometimes, I pretend I'm fine, like I'm managing, you know? I'll laugh at something silly they say, or offer to pay for a round of drinks because I don't want them to know the truth. But the reality is, every decision I make has this weight attached to it, like I'm carrying the world on my shoulders. I remember this one day, a few weeks ago. I had some time off from work, a rare thing. I thought I'd use it to recharge, but instead, I spent the entire day on my phone, scrolling through job boards, trying to figure out if there's anything better out there. I know I need to find a way out of this loop, but it's so hard to even think about making a change when my energy is so drained. I thought maybe I'd take a few days off to relax, but I spent most of that time just worrying about the bills I couldn't pay and the things I couldn't afford. I try to keep a positive attitude. People say things like, "It'll get better," and "just keep working hard." But what if it doesn't? What if this is all there is? That's the fear I live with every day. The fear that no matter what I do, I'll never be able to climb out of this hole. I see the world around me moving forward, people buying houses, getting promotions, traveling to places I can only dream of, and I wonder, why isn't that me? Why does it feel like the world is passing me by, even though I'm doing everything I can just to keep up? I wish I could just take a step back and breathe, but I can't afford that luxury. Every month is like a race against the clock. I try to plan, to budget, but the numbers never seem to work in my favor. I'll go to the grocery store and feel the sting of every extra dollar I spend. I know that sounds ridiculous, but when you're living paycheck to paycheck, those small things add up. You start to notice every price increase, every new charge. That extra 50 cents on a carton of milk? That's my lunch for the day. That's how bad it is. And it's not just the bills that weigh on me. It's the feeling of watching everyone else move forward while I'm stuck. I used to dream of moving to a bigger city, finding a cool apartment, maybe even working for a company that makes me feel like I'm contributing something meaningful. But how do you even start when the basics feel so out of reach? I keep telling myself that once I pay off some debt, once I get a little breathing room, I'll be able to make those dreams happen. But what if I don't? What if things only get harder from here? I get frustrated when people tell me that it's all part of the grind. They talk about how they've been through the same thing, and they came out the other side better for it. I want to believe them, I do. But right now, it feels like the grind is just a euphemism for being stuck, for never being able to get ahead, no matter how much effort I put in. The world feels like it's designed to leave people like me behind. It's hard to see a way out when every time you make a little progress, something else comes crashing down. I don't even know what making it would look like anymore. Sometimes, late at night, I'll lie awake and think about the future I imagined for myself. I wanted to travel, to see the world. I wanted to buy a nice apartment one day, with enough space for myself, a place I could call my own. I wanted to be able to go out to dinner without worrying about whether I could afford it, to take my friends to a concert without calculating how many hours I'd have to work to cover the cost. But that future feels so distant now. The things I want seem impossible to reach. I keep postponing them, telling myself that one day, I'll be able to take that trip or buy that apartment. But what if that day never comes? What if this is just it? The worst part is the emotional toll. It's not just the stress or the exhaustion, it's the feeling that I'm constantly failing, that I'm not measuring up. It's seeing people around me talk about their plans, their vacations, their successes, and feeling like I'm not even in the same league. I try not to compare myself to others, but it's hard not to when everything feels so far out of reach. I've had to let go of so many dreams already. The idea of being able to pay for things without stress? Gone. The thought of taking a vacation? That's been postponed indefinitely. And those big milestones, buying a house, starting a family, feel like they're in a future I'm never going to get to. But somehow, I keep going. Every day, I wake up, and I take another step forward, even when I don't know if it'll get me anywhere. I've learned to be resourceful. I've learned to adapt, to make do with what I have, even when it's not enough. I take comfort in the small wins, like paying off one bill, or figuring out a way to stretch my paycheck for just a little bit longer. I've learned to be creative with my meals, to find joy in the things I can afford, like reading a book I've had on my shelf for ages, or spending time with friends who understand what it's like to be in the trenches. I don't know what the future holds. Maybe things will get better, maybe they won't. But for now, all I can do is keep pushing forward, even if it feels like I'm running in place. And one day, maybe I'll find a way out of this maze. Until then, I'll keep holding on, because what else can I do? I've always been told that the hustle is worth it. Work hard, and you'll get there, they said. The dream was always just around the corner, they promised. But right now, that corner feels like it's a million miles away, and the weight of it all presses down on me every single day. I'm 25, trying to figure it out like everyone else my age, but the truth is, it's harder than I ever imagined. Maybe I'm just not built for this system. I work 2 jobs, one as a cashier at a local grocery store, the other as a part-time barista at a coffee shop, but somehow, it never seems like enough. I'm always looking at my bank account and wondering where it all goes. Rent. Utilities. Grocery bills that never stay under $100. gas, insurance, student loans. I can barely keep up with it. Every month feels like I'm racing against a clock that's ticking faster than I can manage. Some days, I don't even know if I'll make it. Last week, I had to skip a bill payment just to keep food in the fridge. I knew the late fee would be a hit, but it's like choosing the least painful option in a world that constantly demands more than you can give. I used to have big dreams. I thought I'd finish college, land a solid job, and build something. A career, a life that felt like it had some direction. But the reality of it all has been crushing. I graduated a few years ago with a degree in communications. I was so hopeful. I thought I'd work my way up in some shiny office, wear a suit, and make enough to afford dinner out on a whim. Instead, I'm behind the counter at a coffee shop, pouring drinks and juggling tips. I feel the judgment sometimes. When people see you in a uniform like mine, it's easy to write you off. I know I'm not what they imagined. I hear them talk about how tough things are for them, but I know I don't get the luxury of complaining about a bad day at work. The truth is, I don't even have the time or energy to complain. I'm too busy figuring out how to get by. I've tried to adjust, tried to find some kind of peace in the chaos. There's this weird disconnection in my brain, like I can't quite wrap my head around the fact that every decision I make has consequences. A friend invited me to a concert next month, but I had to say no. Not because I don't want to go, but because that ticket costs more than I can justify. It's hard to explain how much that hurts. These things that used to be part of life, grabbing a coffee with a friend, taking a weekend trip, even just going out for a walk and buying a snack, I can't do them anymore. Not without worrying. Not without counting every dollar in my head. How do I balance the desire for a life that feels normal with the financial pressure that constantly holds me back? I don't think people understand how exhausting it is to live like this. To always be a few steps behind. I can't remember the last time I had a break. Days off are just a chance to catch up, to clean, to do laundry, to handle all the other little things that pile up. And by the time I've done all that, I'm too tired to even think about relaxing. When I'm lying in bed at night, I sometimes wonder if this is just how it's always going to be. The thought of the future feels like a heavy fog. I can't picture it clearly. I've started to believe that I'm never going to be able to afford my own place. I'll always be renting. The idea of traveling, seeing the world, or even just exploring the city where I live feels distant, like a dream that's too far out of reach. It's not just the money that weighs on me. It's the feeling of being stuck. Stuck in a system that keeps pushing expenses higher while wages stay the same. Stuck in a cycle of working harder and harder just to stay afloat. I try to tell myself that I'm doing the best I can, but sometimes, that's just not enough. I cope by keeping my head down and pushing through. I've learned how to survive, even if it doesn't feel like living. I tell myself that things will get better, that one day, I'll be in a better position. I repeat it like a mantra. But I don't know if I believe it anymore. I've spent years trying to climb out of this hole, and each time I think I've found a way, something else comes up. A broken down car, a surprise medical bill, the inevitable price hikes. It's like the universe is playing a cruel joke. I think about what I could have done differently. Should I have picked a different career? Maybe I should have stayed home longer, saved more, or worked more hours. But the truth is, it wouldn't have made a difference. The system is designed to keep people like me in place, and no amount of working harder will change that. I've come to understand that I'm not the problem, this world is. I still have dreams. They haven't completely died yet, though they've been put on hold, locked away in some part of my brain where they don't seem to make sense anymore. I used to think about starting my own business, creating something that I could be proud of, but I don't have the financial freedom to take that risk. Every dollar counts, and there's no room to chase something uncertain. I wonder what my life will look like in a few years. Will I still be stuck in this same cycle, just older and more worn down? Or will something finally give, will the tide finally turn in my favor? I can't keep waiting for some miracle to happen. At this point, I just want to survive the next few months without drowning. But I still try to keep hope. Maybe not the kind of hope that says, everything will get better, but a quieter kind of hope. The kind that tells me I'll get through today, and then tomorrow, and maybe, just maybe, there will be a day when I can breathe without feeling like I'm on the edge of something too big to control. For now, I keep going. It's all I can do. I don't know where I'll be in the future, but I hope, somehow, things will shift. I hope that one day, I won't feel trapped in this grind. But today, I'll put one foot in front of the other, do what I have to do, and keep hoping for the day when life doesn't feel like an endless uphill battle. I wake up in the dark, the kind of morning where everything feels heavier before my feet even touch the floor. The first thought I have is about money. It's always money, isn't it? I lie there for a moment, staring at the ceiling, trying to convince myself that it'll get better, that something will change soon. But the truth is, I don't know if it ever will. The world is a constant hum of bills, rent, credit card statements, and unexpected expenses that arrive without warning, like a storm cloud you didn't see coming. I'm 26, but sometimes it feels like I've already lived decades of adult life. I wake up early to go to a job I'm not passionate about, a job that doesn't pay enough for me to breathe easy. I work as a marketing assistant at a small company, and I feel like I'm on a treadmill, constantly running but never really getting anywhere. They say it's good to have a job in a field you can grow in, but honestly, I'm not even sure if this job is worth sticking with long enough to find out. Every week, I have to juggle bills. I try to keep track of it all on a spreadsheet, but it's like playing a game of whack-a-mole. Expenses pop up faster than I can handle them. Rent takes most of what I earn. It always feels like it's increasing every year, but my paycheck stays stagnant. The student loans are a silent, unrelenting weight. The minimum payments are low enough to feel like I can breathe, until the next statement arrives, showing interest piling up faster than I can keep up. I remember when I first moved out of my parents' house, thinking that I'd be free, independent. But all I've ever felt is the grip of financial pressure squeezing tighter. I postponed dreams I didn't even realize were dreams until I started seeing other people living them. Traveling, owning things that make life feel like something to hold on to. I've always wanted to go to Europe. I used to dream about taking a backpacking trip across Spain, wandering through cobblestone streets, eating fresh food, breathing in the air of a different place. But now? That dream feels like it's just another casualty of my current reality. Every time I think about it, I feel a twinge of guilt. Like I'm somehow not working hard enough or being responsible enough. Like if I just tried harder, managed my money better, I could make it happen. But the truth is, there's a limit to how much you can cut, how much you can sacrifice before you lose yourself in the process. I've tried to get by on less. For a while, I was eating ramen noodles every day, getting by on whatever free snacks I could grab from work. I don't buy new clothes unless they're necessary, and I don't go out much. I've stopped thinking about how much I miss the little joys that used to feel like normal, getting a coffee on my way to work, picking up something nice for dinner, going to see a movie with friends. Now it's more about surviving the week, crossing each task off the to-do list, and hoping the numbers in my bank account don't go negative by the time payday arrives. It's hard to make peace with the idea that the choices I make every day, spending less, cutting down on luxuries, don't really change the fact that everything is getting more expensive. I try to be smart, but when rent goes up, utilities go up, food prices climb higher, and inflation keeps eating away at what little money I have, I feel like I'm just spinning my wheels. I'm exhausted all the time, and it's not just because of work. It's because every decision I make is clouded by this weight, this constant pressure, like I'm suffocating under a pile of bills and expectations I can't meet. Some days, it feels like I'm on the edge of a cliff, and all I'm doing is trying to keep from falling. I can't even enjoy a day off because I'm already thinking about the next round of expenses waiting to take me down. The credit card bill, the medical bills, the student loans, the car repair bills that just seem to appear out of nowhere. They all hover over me, like ghosts I can't shake off. I've had to put dreams on hold, even simple ones, just to get by. I used to think about maybe taking a night class, learning something new, or doing something I love, but I can't even consider it anymore. The cost of education has skyrocketed, And there's no way I can afford to invest in myself while I'm just trying to pay rent. I've been talking about starting a side business for months, but the startup costs are intimidating, and I don't have the spare time or energy to work on it. The hours at my day job take so much out of me. By the time I get home, I'm mentally drained, too tired to do anything other than scroll through social media and feel even worse. It's not even the worst-case scenario. I'm not homeless. I'm not starving. I know that. But there's this creeping sense that I'm always a few bad decisions away from falling into something worse. And that's the worst part. Knowing that even though I'm doing my best, it's still not enough. The world feels like it's moving forward, but I'm stuck. Stuck in a system where the rich get richer, and people like me are left behind, doing everything we can to scrape by. I want to scream sometimes, to ask why it has to be this hard. But then, I remember that I'm not alone in this. So many people my age are feeling the same pressure, and even though it doesn't make it any easier, there's comfort in knowing that I'm not the only one struggling. But I wonder if that's just the narrative we're all told to accept, that we're just supposed to work harder, save more, and somehow, one day, everything will pay off. I try to remind myself that I'm still young. That my story isn't over yet. But that hope sometimes feels like a distant dream, like something I have to keep reaching for while I'm stuck in the mud. Sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever get out. But for now, I keep going. I keep waking up, dragging myself to work, making the best decisions I can, and telling myself that maybe, just maybe, the light at the end of the tunnel is still there. I can't afford to give up. I can't afford to let this weight break me. And maybe, just maybe, one day, I'll be able to breathe without wondering how I'm going to pay for it. But for now, it's all just one step at a time. And sometimes, that's all I can do. I wake up to my phone buzzing with notifications, and the first one that catches my eye is from my bank. Another alert about my balance. I swipe to check it. It's barely enough to cover the bills that are due tomorrow. It's a sinking feeling, like a weight in the pit of my stomach that never fully goes away. I shut my eyes for a moment, trying to push down the anxiety that's creeping up like a shadow. It's been like this for months, maybe longer. Every morning feels like a battle just to stay afloat. I've always worked hard, 2 jobs, one full-time, one part-time, but it doesn't feel like it's enough anymore. The prices keep going up, faster than I can make a dent. I don't even know what happened. One day, I was just barely scraping by, and the next, it feels like I'm drowning. Rent alone takes almost half my paycheck, and I'm not even in a nice apartment. It's a tiny, overpriced studio in a building that's more run down than I'd like to admit. Every month, I tell myself I'll move soon. I'll find somewhere cheaper, somewhere better, but it's always a dream that gets pushed back because there's never enough money left after everything else. I step into the bathroom, looking at myself in the mirror. I'm 26, and I still feel like I haven't figured anything out. I'm not where I thought I'd be by this age. I always imagined I'd have some kind of stability by now, maybe a career that actually paid me what I'm worth, maybe a house to call my own. But instead, I'm still juggling bills, unsure if I'll have enough at the end of the month for groceries or gas. It feels like I'm constantly on the edge, waiting for something to break, but not knowing if it'll be my car, my health, or just my mind. I remember when I graduated college. Everyone was talking about how the world was my oyster, how all these opportunities would be waiting for me. But when I got into the real world, it was more like an ocean of sharks, each one circling, waiting to take a bite. My degree didn't automatically open doors, it just piled on the debt, while the jobs I found barely paid enough to cover my rent. And those student loan payments, they never stop. It doesn't matter how hard I work, I'm constantly playing catch up. The worst part is that I can't even really complain to anyone. Everyone else is in the same boat. The only thing I can hear in my head is the same tired advice, just work harder, you'll figure it out. But what if I don't? What if I'm stuck like this forever, always running but never getting ahead? I try to be optimistic some days, remind myself that I'm doing my best, that maybe in a few years I'll have saved up enough for something better, but it's hard to hold on to hope when the world feels so against you. Every time I try to dream, I feel like reality slaps me right back into place. There's this one dream I've had for as long as I can remember, one I keep postponing. I want to travel. I want to see the world, go to places I've only read about in books, or seen in documentaries. I want to feel the warmth of the sun on my skin in a country where the language is foreign to me, to step off a plane with nothing but a backpack and an open heart. But that feels impossible now. Every time I look at the price of plane tickets or think about booking a trip, I just get overwhelmed. The money isn't there. It's all tied up in this endless cycle of bills. It's not just that I can't afford it, it feels like I'm not even allowed to think about it. The strangest part is how normal this has all become. There's this constant pressure to keep pushing, to keep pretending like everything's fine. No one talks about how hard it is behind closed doors. Everyone's so busy putting on their happy faces that it's easy to forget that beneath the surface, people are struggling just to stay afloat. I don't even tell my friends anymore when I'm stressed. It feels like a burden. And sometimes, I feel a weird guilt. Like, I'm doing something wrong. Like I'm the only one not succeeding in this economy, like everyone else is just figuring it out, and I'm the one falling behind. It's isolating, even though I know I'm not alone. So I cope. I spend my evenings zoning out in front of Netflix, trying not to think about money. I eat ramen for dinner more nights than I care to admit, and I've stopped going out with friends because I can't afford to. I tell myself that this is temporary, that someday it'll get better, but I can't help but wonder if that's just something we all tell ourselves to get through the day. Maybe I'm just another cog in the machine, another person who got caught up in the endless grind of a system that doesn't actually care about me. The worst part is, I'm scared that my dreams will never come true. That this life of struggle and constant financial pressure, is all there is. I'm scared that the things I've always wanted, travel, a career that brings me joy, maybe even a family, will stay out of reach forever. Every day feels like a battle against the clock, as the bills pile up, the prices rise, and the dreams that once seemed so possible slip farther away. But even in all of this, I try to hold on to a tiny spark of hope. Maybe things will change. Maybe someday I'll find a way out of this mess. Maybe I'll get that promotion I've been working for, or maybe something will come through that I didn't expect. I don't know. But for now, all I can do is keep moving forward, one step at a time, even if I'm not sure where I'm going. I try not to let the weight of it all crush me, but some days, it feels like it might. It's a hard thing to explain, this sense of being trapped in a system that's designed to make you fail. It feels like I'm fighting not just for survival but for my own sense of dignity. I don't want to be a person who gives up, but sometimes I wonder if it's all worth it. But maybe that's the thing about hope, it's not about knowing everything will be okay. It's just about holding on, even when everything seems to be pulling you under. Maybe, just maybe, that's enough. I woke up this morning to the sound of the same old buzz, the alarm that signals the beginning of another day I can't really afford. I don't mean that in a figurative sense, though, I mean it literally. I've gotten so used to living paycheck to paycheck that it feels almost comical to even try to think beyond the next rent payment or the looming student loan deadline. I've been drowning in bills for months now, and every time I think I'm starting to breathe, the surface slips away from my grasp again. It's like I'm stuck on this hamster wheel of never-ending expenses, groceries, rent, car payment, credit card debt. No matter how hard I try, the wheel just keeps spinning faster than my legs can move. Each month, the number of zeros after the dollar sign seems to get bigger, but my paychecks, well, they stay the same. It's hard not to feel bitter about it. All my friends seem to have it together, or at least they act like they do. They're getting promotions, buying new clothes, taking vacations. Meanwhile, I'm over here calculating how many days I can make it on the food in my fridge before I need to scrounge together enough change to go to the store. It's a strange thing, to be so young but to feel like you're already way behind. I've been working at this office job for almost 2 years now, doing the same mind-numbing tasks day in and day out. At first, I thought things would get better, my pay would increase, I'd get a chance to move up, but instead, I've only seen the cost of living increase and my salary stay stagnant. There's no growth in sight, and I can feel it gnawing at my insides. I hate the feeling of constantly having to weigh every single decision I make. A cup of coffee? Sure, if I've got a couple of bucks left after my rent and utilities. A night out with friends? Maybe, if I skip that week's grocery shop. The smallest luxuries are a distant dream. I don't remember the last time I bought something purely for fun. Even clothes seem out of reach. I patch up the ones I have until they completely fall apart. It feels like I'm constantly asking myself if I'm being responsible enough, and it's exhausting. The worst part? The thing that weighs on me the most is the anxiety. The kind that sits heavy in my chest every time I check my bank account. The constant worry that I won't have enough to make it through the month. I've started to keep my phone on silent, avoiding the notifications because I don't want to know what's coming. Every email feels like a potential bill, and every text could be someone asking me to hang out when I'm already scraping by. I don't want to admit how much of my self-worth is tied to how much I can afford. I don't want to admit that the guilt I feel when I say no to invitations or put off my dreams of traveling, of owning a home, of just living comfortably, gets heavier with each passing day. I try to keep a brave face. I try to convince myself that I'm doing the best I can, that I'll figure it out. I try to remind myself that everyone's in the same boat, that this is just the way things are. But it's hard to believe that when the rent is due, and I have to choose between paying it or buying groceries. It's hard when I watch people talk about their savings plans, their retirement funds, when I'm barely scraping by. It's hard to keep my head up when I know that even though I'm working hard, it's still not enough. Not enough to catch up to inflation. Not enough to feel safe, to feel secure, to feel okay. There are moments when I look at the future, and all I see is more of this, the constant juggling, the scrimping, the postponing. I've had to put off so many dreams already. The trip to Europe I always dreamed of taking? Gone. The idea of buying a house? Probably not going to happen anytime soon. I keep telling myself that I'll get there one day. That I'll work hard enough to break free of this cycle. But deep down, I'm starting to wonder if that's even possible. Some days, I wonder if I'm ever going to break free from this. If I'm ever going to get out of this hole I've found myself in. I don't know if it's the economy or if it's just me, but I feel like I'm running a race I'm never going to win. Every time I think I've made it to the finish line, there's another hurdle in my way. And I'm too tired to keep running. It's hard to talk about this with people. I don't want to burden anyone. It's awkward to admit that I'm struggling when it seems like everyone around me is doing fine. So, I keep quiet. I laugh along when they talk about their plans to buy new gadgets or take trips or buy homes. I say me too even when I know it's a lie. And then, I come home and sit in my small apartment, staring at the empty walls, feeling the weight of it all. I've learned to cope, I guess. I've learned to find small things to make me feel like I'm not completely sinking. I go to the library instead of buying books. I take long walks when I'm feeling stressed, just to get away from my thoughts for a while. I spend hours cooking meals that will last me the entire week. I've started reading self-help articles online, ones that tell me how to budget better, how to save, how to live frugally. But nothing ever seems to move the needle. I try not to think about how far behind I feel. I try not to get lost in the what-ifs. I try not to imagine a future where I'm still stuck, still struggling, still chasing after something I'll never catch. But it's hard. Every time I look at my bank account, every time I send out an application for a new job, I feel like I'm trapped in a system that's designed to keep me here. There's no real way out, not without a stroke of luck or a miracle, and I'm tired of waiting for something to change on its own. So, I just keep going. I keep pushing forward, even when it feels like I'm barely holding on. Maybe one day, things will get better. Maybe the cost of living will slow down, or maybe I'll find a way to break free. I can't let myself stop dreaming, even if those dreams feel so far away right now. Because if I stop dreaming, I'll lose the last thing I have left, hope. And right now, that's all I've got. I don't remember the exact moment I realized I was stuck. It was more like a slow suffocation, a creeping pressure that eventually became so constant that I couldn't remember what it felt like to breathe easily. I'm 26 now, and it's been like this for as long as I can remember. I don't think I've ever truly been financially stable. I know that sounds dramatic, but sometimes it feels like I'm drowning, and the waves keep getting higher. I have a decent job, I work in marketing, which is something I studied for. But even with my college degree, my salary doesn't go far. I make just enough to cover my basic needs, and that's it. After rent, utilities, and groceries, I'm left with nothing. My rent has gone up 3 times in the last 2 years, and every time it does, I make the same mental calculations. Can I survive this? What can I sacrifice? How much longer can I live like this? I'm not in a bad place, I keep telling myself. I'm just surviving. I'm not destitute. I have food to eat, I have a roof over my head. But some days, even that feels like a fragile thread. It's like I'm constantly playing whack-a-mole with my bills. I finally pay off one credit card, and then an unexpected expense pops up, an overdue medical bill, an old parking ticket, a car repair. It's always something. The hours I've worked, the late nights, the sacrifices I've made, all feel like they don't matter. My income just doesn't keep up with the cost of living. And when I think about my future, it's hard not to feel completely disillusioned. I used to think that by the time I was in my mid-20s, I'd have my life together. I thought I'd be living in a cute apartment, maybe planning for a house someday, figuring out the best way to invest in my future. Instead, I'm still renting a cramped 1-bedroom with peeling paint and no air conditioning, a place that feels more like a temporary holding spot than a home. I daydream about buying a house, but the thought of ever saving for a down payment seems like a distant fantasy. I used to talk about traveling more. I had a whole list of places I wanted to visit. But those dreams have slipped away slowly. The idea of spending money on a plane ticket now feels completely out of reach. I've gone on one trip in the last 2 years, and I put it on a credit card. Even then, I spent most of the time worrying about how I'd pay it off. The worst part is how much the financial strain affects my mental health. There's a constant low-level anxiety buzzing in the background of every decision I make. I can't go out with friends without calculating how much I'm going to have to stretch my budget. I don't go on vacations anymore because the thought of spending money on anything non-essential makes me sick to my stomach. Even basic things, like picking up groceries or getting a coffee, turn into stressful decisions. Every month, I try to make a budget. Every month, I fail. It's hard to get ahead when every penny feels spoken for before it even hits your bank account. It's not that I don't try. It's not that I don't want to make better choices. But some days it feels like I'm working harder than ever and still getting nowhere. I keep telling myself I'll get a better job, but I've been stuck in the same position for 2 years now. I've applied to other companies, sent out dozens of resumes. But every time, I hear nothing back. And when I do get an interview, it's for a position that's either a lateral move or a job that's barely a step up in terms of pay. I see other people my age getting promotions, buying homes, traveling the world. And I'm still stuck. The system feels rigged, like no matter how hard you work, you're always going to be playing catch-up. It doesn't help that every social media post I see feels like a reminder of all the things I can't afford. A friend posts pictures from her European vacation while I'm just trying to figure out how to pay my utility bill on time. I try to stay positive. I know I'm not the only one going through this. There are millions of us, all struggling to make ends meet, to find some semblance of financial security in a world that keeps making it harder. But there are days when I feel so alone in it, when I can't stop the feeling that I'm failing at something everyone else seems to have figured out. I cope by numbing it. I distract myself with TV shows, or I scroll endlessly through social media. I tell myself it's temporary. I tell myself that one day, it'll all fall into place. But I've been telling myself that for years. And every time I think I'm getting closer, something happens, a medical bill, a car breakdown, and I'm right back where I started. I used to dream about starting a business. I used to imagine myself being my own boss, creating something I loved, and finally finding financial freedom. But now, it feels like a distant dream. How can I start something from scratch when I'm barely keeping my head above water? Even the idea of investing in something feels impossible when every dollar I earn has to go toward paying down debt. And it's not just the money. It's how much it's taken out of me emotionally. I've stopped going out with friends. I don't get to enjoy my life in the same way. I feel tired all the time, mentally and physically. I can't even remember the last time I treated myself to something nice, something that wasn't a necessity. But I keep going. I don't know what else to do. I tell myself that it will get better. That eventually, I'll find a way to save more, to get ahead. But right now, it's just survival. I don't know how long I can keep this up, but I'm not ready to quit just yet. I've put off dreams I didn't think I would have to. Dreams of buying a house, starting a business, traveling, even getting my own place that feels like home instead of a waiting room. I postpone things I care about because I can't afford them. But somewhere deep inside, I still believe that someday I'll get there. And for now, that's all I can hold on to. Hope. Because without it, there's nothing left to keep going for. I wake up in the morning to the same weight on my chest, a pressure that only seems to grow heavier with each passing day. The first thought that hits me isn't about what I'll wear or how I'll spend my day, it's about the bills that are stacking up, the rent that's overdue, the student loans I'm never going to escape. The sound of my phone vibrating next to the bed is a reminder, another reminder of just how tight everything is. It's never a good feeling when the alert pops up with a new balance on my credit card. It's always more than I thought. I roll over, staring at the ceiling for a moment. I don't want to get up. But I have to. The thought of staying in bed all day would be a luxury I can't afford. I've always worked hard. Since high school, I've been juggling jobs, sometimes 2 or 3 at a time. Right after graduation, I jumped into the first full-time position that offered me a salary, and I was hopeful. Maybe I'd be able to breathe. Maybe this was the start of something. But I quickly learned that nothing in this world was built to let people like me, people from humble backgrounds, really get ahead. I work a 9-to-5 job now that barely pays the bills. Every month, I tell myself, this is the month I'll get ahead. This is the month I'll save something, but the truth is, no matter how hard I try, no matter how many hours I work, it's like I'm running on a treadmill that's speeding up faster than I can keep up with. Prices are rising all around me, food, gas, insurance, and yet my paycheck barely budges. I don't get it. Where's this extra money supposed to come from? It's not like I'm just wasting it. I'm careful, so careful. But no matter how much I tighten my belt, there's always another expense lurking around the corner. I'm supposed to be excited about being an adult, about having it all together, but honestly, every time I open my bank app, it feels like I'm getting crushed by an invisible weight. The money that should be there just isn't. And it's like this cruel game where, no matter how many hours I work, how many sacrifices I make, I'm still stuck. I'll make a payment here, and it feels like I'm juggling. But the reality is, the bills keep coming, and I'm running out of hands to catch them. Sometimes, I think about the dreams I had when I was younger. I used to imagine myself in a loft apartment, working a job that I loved, maybe even traveling, maybe starting my own little business. But all of those things, those hopeful thoughts, seem like a distant memory now. Instead, I sit in a cramped apartment that's starting to feel more like a cage than a home. My roommate and I share a small living room, and the noise from the street never lets me forget that I'm not really living. I'm just surviving. It's not even just the material stuff. It's the emotional toll it takes on me. Every day, I have to battle with my thoughts. My friends, some of them, at least, seem to be moving forward in ways that I can't quite understand. They get to travel, they get to buy new clothes, they post their cute brunch pictures on Instagram, and I can't even remember the last time I took a real day off. Every time I feel this way, I try to remind myself that their lives are different. They have different circumstances. But it's hard to shake the feeling of inadequacy. It's hard to not let jealousy creep in when you feel like you're stuck in the same place, never able to break free. My parents try to help, but they're not in a much better position. They give me advice, and I appreciate it, but I can't ask them for money. They can barely make ends meet themselves. The thought of asking them for anything feels like failure. I've been taught my whole life to be independent. And here I am, relying on my paycheck every 2 weeks, which feels like it's never enough. It's not that I don't see the opportunities out there, but every time I try to make a move, something comes up that holds me back. My car breaks down, and that's another $400 I don't have. Or the rent increases again, and I can barely cover it with what's left. I've been trying to figure out how to make extra income, but between my job and the other responsibilities I have, it feels impossible to find the energy for anything else. I'm just so exhausted. And then there's the mental toll. I try not to get too caught up in how overwhelming it all feels, but it's hard. Some nights, I lie awake staring at the ceiling, questioning everything. Why is this happening? Why does everything seem so much harder than it should be? It's a constant cycle of trying, failing, and trying again. The weight of it never really leaves, and I can't help but feel like I'm running out of time to figure it out. I don't want to live like this forever. But I'm stuck. The systems are designed to keep people like me in place, and it feels like there's no way out. I've tried everything, cutting back, being frugal, meal prepping, working overtime. But still, it's like I'm just trying to put out fires that keep starting faster than I can stop them. I've had to postpone so many dreams. That trip to Europe? Gone. The idea of owning a home? It's laughable now. I can barely afford the apartment I have. I've had to put off my plans for further education because I can't take on more debt, not when I'm already drowning in what I owe. The hardest part is the emotional weight of all of it. The guilt. The shame. When I go to social gatherings, I try to smile and act like everything's okay, but inside, I feel like a fraud. I feel like I'm faking it. People talk about their vacations, their new purchases, their career advancements, and I just nod along, pretending I'm not feeling this heavy weight in my chest. The constant comparison is killing me, but I can't stop it. I just can't. But there are moments, fleeting as they are, where I feel a tiny spark of hope. Maybe it's that one moment when I look at my bank account, and for a second, I don't feel like I'm sinking. Maybe it's the thought that one day, I'll find a way out of this cycle. I'll work smarter, or harder, or maybe I'll find a breakthrough. I try to remind myself that these dreams, these goals, they're not impossible. Just delayed. But the truth is, most days it's hard to believe that. It's hard to feel hopeful when every day feels like just getting by is the best I can do. So, I keep going. I take each day as it comes, knowing that eventually, things will have to change. But right now, it's just about surviving. And I think that's what gets me through the hardest days, knowing that I'm not the only one. Everyone's feeling this, in some way. We're all carrying this burden, trying to find a way out. I just hope that, one day, I can say I made it. That all of this work, all of this struggle, will somehow pay off. I don't know when that will be. But I'll keep going. Because what else can I do? Hey, friends! If you enjoy this content, don't forget to like the video and share your thoughts in the comments. We really want to know what you like and what can be improved. What do you think of the video? Are there any topics you'd like to see in future videos? Your feedback really helps us get better. Thanks for being with us. I wake up to the hum of my alarm, my hand instinctively swiping to silence it. Another day. Another set of decisions to make, most of them small, but all of them weighty. The first thought in my head isn't about what I'm going to wear or what I'll eat for breakfast, it's about how I'm going to pay for things today. The anxiety that follows me every morning is a shadow I can't shake. I'm 27. A couple of years out of college, with a degree in something that, supposedly, could get me a job with some kind of future. But right now, that future feels like a distant dream. It's like I'm living in this weird holding pattern, always treading water but never quite getting anywhere. Every time I think I'm getting ahead, paying off some debt or saving a little for the future, it feels like the rug gets pulled out from under me. An unexpected bill. A rent increase. Gas prices going up. My credit card interest rate climbing. The pressure keeps mounting, and I can feel it in my chest. Like I'm always just a breath away from a panic attack. I make my way to the kitchen, the bright fluorescent light flickering above. I stare at the half-empty box of cereal on the counter, thinking I'll have some, but then I remember how tight my budget is this week. Maybe I'll just have toast instead. I can't remember the last time I actually got excited about food. It's become more of a necessity than something to look forward to. If I'm honest, I'm so tired of eating the same bland meals to save a few bucks. But then again, it's that or skip a meal, and that's not an option. I sit at the kitchen table, scrolling through my phone, checking my bank account. The numbers haven't shifted much from last night, still barely enough to cover rent. I'll have to wait until next week's paycheck to get back on track, but I know there's not a lot of wiggle room in that one either. I'd like to think I've been doing better, that I've learned how to budget more efficiently, but the reality is that expenses keep growing at a pace I can't keep up with. Rent's gone up, groceries are more expensive, and gas, don't even get me started on gas. I've started skipping the gym because I can't justify spending the extra $50 a month when that money could be used to buy food. It's depressing. Sometimes, I can't help but feel like I'm drowning in all these numbers and decisions that never stop. I check my credit score on a whim, just to remind myself of how far I've fallen from where I thought I'd be. When I graduated, I was convinced I'd be out of student debt in a couple of years, building a savings account, planning vacations. Now? My student loans still feel like a massive weight around my neck, and the idea of vacation feels laughable. I can barely afford to take time off work, let alone travel. I walk to work most days because I can't afford the gas, and the bus fares aren't much cheaper. It's funny, well, not funny in a haha way, but funny in a sad kind of way, that I'm not even sure how much I actually make after taxes, insurance, and all the little things that are constantly draining my paychecks. The numbers don't add up, ever. I've tried sitting down, writing everything out, but it feels like there's always something unexpected, a dentist appointment, a friend's birthday gift I feel obligated to buy, just enough to push me into the red. It feels like I'm always walking a tightrope, trying to balance between surviving and sinking. But the worst part isn't just the money, it's the constant sense of failure that comes with it. I try not to think of it that way, but it's hard not to. I graduated, I worked hard, and still, I can't seem to make this whole adult thing work. Every time I scroll through social media, it's like everyone else is thriving. People are posting photos of their vacations, their new cars, their new apartments, and I'm just here trying to figure out if I should buy the generic brand of toilet paper or the one that's just a little softer but costs 50 cents more. I feel stupid sometimes, like I'm missing something everyone else seems to have figured out. I tell myself it's fine. That I'll get there. That I just need to push through, and eventually, things will start to smooth out. But the truth is, I'm tired. I'm so tired of always being on edge, of constantly fighting just to stay afloat. I don't talk about it much because people expect me to be happy for the things I have, like my job, my apartment, even though it's small and feels like a glorified closet, my friends. They don't understand that I feel like I'm barely scraping by, that the thought of even spending a little money on something for myself makes me anxious. The worst part is that the dreams I had when I was younger, those plans I made, about saving up for a place of my own, about going back to school to finish my degree, about traveling the world, are starting to feel more and more like pipe dreams. I used to have this vision of myself, confident and independent, checking things off my list, moving forward. Now, I feel like I'm stuck in neutral, and no matter how hard I push the gas pedal, I'm not going anywhere. Sometimes I get caught in a moment of daydreaming. I picture a future where I'm not worrying about money all the time, where I have some kind of stability, where I can buy a coffee without feeling guilty. It's not a glamorous dream, just a simple, steady life. A life where I'm not constantly behind. A life where I have time to breathe without checking my bank account every 5 minutes. I think about what I'd do if I didn't have to worry about money at all. Would I take a day off work and just wander around the city, take a class I'm interested in, go on a weekend trip with my friends? Would I finally get my student loans paid off and actually start saving? But that's the thing, isn't it? Those dreams feel so far out of reach. And I don't want to be the person who gives up on them, but I also don't want to keep pretending I'm doing okay when, honestly, I'm not. It's a quiet kind of struggle, one that doesn't always show on the surface. People look at me, and they see someone doing fine, handling things. But deep down, it feels like a constant grind, like a hamster wheel I can't seem to get off. I try to stay positive, tell myself that this is just a phase. That things will get better. But what if they don't? What if this is just how life is now? I don't want to think about that. I can't afford to. So, for now, I'll keep waking up and facing the grind. I'll keep counting pennies and making choices. I'll keep postponing dreams, trying to survive long enough to see the other side of this. And maybe one day, I'll be able to look back at all of this and say, I made it through. Until then, I just have to keep going. It's like I'm always running, never stopping for air, never catching my breath. There's a constant pressure, a weight pressing down on my chest that I can't escape. And every day, it gets heavier. I'm 26, living in a small apartment with a roommate because I can't afford the luxury of living alone. I tell myself it's just temporary, that one day things will get better, but every time I say that, I feel a little less sure. I get up at 6:30 a.m., sometimes earlier. I can't afford to waste a minute. My morning routine is a blur, a quick shower, a cup of coffee that's more about habit than enjoyment, and then I'm out the door by 7:30. The commute feels like an eternity, and as I sit on the bus, I can't help but scroll through my phone, watching the cost of living rise with every new headline. Rent is up again. Groceries are up again. Gas is up again. I feel like I'm drowning in a flood of costs, and I'm just treading water, trying to keep my head above it all. The job market has been brutal. I graduated 3 years ago with a degree in marketing, but the jobs that seemed so promising in college aren't what they promised. Even the entry-level positions expect you to have experience, which feels like a joke when you're just starting out. I settled for an office job, data entry mostly. It's boring. It's soul-crushing, to be honest. But it pays the bills, barely. Every paycheck feels like a temporary solution, not a step toward real financial stability. The thing is, when you're young and trying to make your way in the world, you're told that it gets better. That all you need is hard work and a little patience, and the world will open up for you. But no one ever explains how those bills will keep piling up, how your rent will climb higher than your income, how food costs more than it did last month, and how everything else seems to cost more, too. My student loan payments are a constant reminder of that, taking up more than half of what I earn every month. I'm caught in a loop, pay the bills, buy the groceries, pay the loans. There's nothing left for anything else. It's not just the financial pressure that's exhausting, it's the emotional weight of it. The guilt that hangs over everything I do. I can't remember the last time I went out with friends without feeling that gnawing anxiety in the back of my mind. When they suggest grabbing dinner or going to the movies, my immediate thought is, how much will that cost? And when I have to say no, I feel like I'm disappointing them, even though I know they understand. But I can't help it. It feels like every dollar spent is a step further from where I want to be. I've had to cancel plans more times than I care to admit, and every time, I tell myself it's for the greater good, but the reality is that it's wearing me down. I look at my friends, some of them already with better paying jobs or living in apartments that feel like real homes, and I wonder what I did wrong. Why does it feel like I'm always a step behind, always struggling just to stay afloat? Then there's the constant noise in the back of my head, what's the point of working so hard when it feels like I'm getting nowhere? Some nights, I stay awake staring at the ceiling, wishing I could just reset everything. Move to a cheaper place, find a better paying job, or even just have one solid month where I didn't have to count every cent I spent. But the problem is that every decision is tied to money. Even the smallest choices seem like a game of risk, like choosing between paying a bill on time or buying groceries. Neither feels like a win. And then there's the loneliness of it all. I'm surrounded by people, sure. I have my roommate, I have my family, I have my friends. But it feels like no one truly gets what it's like. They don't feel the constant anxiety that I do. It's like I'm always trying to keep up appearances, put on a brave face, smile, say everything's fine, but inside, I'm tired. I'm really tired. Sometimes, I wonder if I'm just not cut out for this whole adult thing. I've had to postpone dreams I once thought were attainable. I used to think I'd travel more. I used to dream of taking a solo trip to Europe or spending a summer in Asia. Now, those dreams feel impossible. The thought of putting together enough savings for even a short vacation feels laughable. A part of me mourns those dreams, the ones I thought I'd chase in my 20s. But there's no room for them in a budget that's always stretched too thin. I cope by telling myself that it's temporary. That one day, I'll have the job I want, the financial freedom I crave. But it's hard to hold on to that hope when every sign around me seems to say the opposite. When I see the cost of living rise again, when I read about wage stagnation, when I hear people talking about how hard it is to get by, I can't help but wonder how long I can keep doing this. Sometimes, when I'm alone and the weight of everything becomes too much, I wonder if I've made some huge mistake. Maybe I chose the wrong career path. Maybe I should have gone to grad school instead. Maybe if I had just made different choices along the way, I'd be in a better place. But I remind myself that everyone's path is different. That there's no perfect route, no perfect timing. And yet, that doesn't make it any easier. I try to be optimistic. I try to remind myself that things won't always be like this. That one day, I'll look back at this and see how far I've come. But in the moments when the bills pile up and the stress seems unbearable, it's hard to hold on to that optimism. I've had to scale back on everything I used to enjoy. I don't go out as much. I don't buy clothes, I don't eat out unless it's absolutely necessary. My hobbies have taken a back seat because I can't afford the materials or the time. Sometimes, I think about all the things I've given up and wonder if it's worth it. If one day, when I finally make it, I'll even remember what I wanted in the first place. But still, I push forward. I remind myself that I'm doing my best. That I'm not alone, even though it feels like it sometimes. I remind myself that this struggle is part of the process. And that maybe, just maybe, if I keep grinding, if I keep working hard and making the tough decisions, I'll get there. But for now, I just have to survive the day-to-day. Keep pushing, keep hoping, and try not to drown in the overwhelming pressure of it all. I don't have all the answers. I don't know if things will get better. But I know that I'm trying, and that's all I can do. I'll just keep going, even if it feels like I'm walking uphill in the rain. Because that's all any of us can do, isn't it? Keep moving, even when it feels like we're stuck. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing on the nightstand, its screen lighting up with an array of notifications. The first thing I do, every single morning, is check my bank account. It's become a habit, but not a comforting one. I don't think I've ever felt genuinely comfortable checking my balance, but today it feels worse. There's less than I expected. There's always less than I expect. I roll over and bury my face in the pillow for a few extra minutes, trying to ignore the tightening in my chest, the pit in my stomach that grows with every second I stay awake. It's an ache that's been with me for years, growing in size and intensity as the years go by. Sometimes I think I might just get used to it, but I don't. I never do. I'm 24 years old, and I'm exhausted. Maybe I shouldn't be. Maybe I'm supposed to be full of energy, out there chasing dreams and climbing ladders, but instead, I'm just trying to survive. Every month feels like a balancing act between what I want to do and what I have to do. And most of the time, what I want to do ends up being pushed down the list, buried under bills and responsibilities that never seem to stop piling up. I force myself out of bed and shuffle into the kitchen to make coffee. My apartment is small and cramped, but it's mine, and that's something, right? I remind myself of that every time I pay the rent. It's hard not to resent how much of my paycheck goes to keeping a roof over my head when I'm barely able to cover my other expenses. The bills never stop coming. Electricity, internet, phone bills, all that stuff that I never even thought about when I was younger. I didn't realize how quickly the cost of living could spiral out of control. It feels like every time I get a raise, my rent goes up, my groceries cost more, and suddenly, that extra cushion I thought I'd built for myself isn't enough. I've had to put my student loan payments on hold a few times, but the weight of it all is crushing. My degree isn't even in a field that guarantees a high-paying job. I'm stuck in a cycle, doing work that doesn't fulfill me, but that pays enough for me to keep going. My dreams, of traveling, starting my own business, building a future I can be proud of, feel more distant with every passing day. I stare into the coffee cup, watching the steam rise, my mind racing with thoughts of what I need to do next. I've become skilled at compartmentalizing the anxiety, at pretending like I'm not afraid of the future. But that fear always creeps back in, especially when I think about things like retirement or owning a home. Some days, I feel like I'm drowning in the knowledge that it's all out of my reach. I'm not the only one, though. Everyone I know is struggling in some way. We're all just trying to keep our heads above water in a world that's getting more expensive and less forgiving. After a quick breakfast, I check my email, trying to muster the energy to get to work. I work remotely, which is both a blessing and a curse. It saves me money on commuting, but it also keeps me isolated. Some days I feel like I'm fading into the background, just another name on a Zoom call, another email to answer. There's no personal connection to anything I do, and that loneliness amplifies the stress I'm already feeling. By mid-morning, the weight of my financial situation starts to settle in. I've been trying to stick to a budget, tracking every dollar, cutting out unnecessary expenses, but no matter how much I try, it never seems like enough. The cost of living is growing so much faster than my paycheck, and no matter how many side hustles I take on, it's never quite enough to make me feel stable. I tell myself I'm being careful, but every time I go to the grocery store, I can feel the pinch. I don't buy what I really want, I buy what I can afford. I skip the fresh fruit, opt for cheaper brands, and try to stretch my meals as long as possible. Sometimes, I end up eating the same thing for days in a row, just because it's the only thing I can make last. And it's not just food. I'm constantly making decisions based on cost. Do I need a new coat, or can I make the one I have last another winter? Should I go out with friends and spend the money, or stay in and save a few bucks? Every day feels like a negotiation with myself. The emotional toll of it all is draining. I used to have a vision of my future, one where I could live comfortably, where I could take vacations and not worry about paying bills. Now, I just want to get through each month without falling behind. I want to be able to buy something nice without feeling guilty. I want to not have to make a decision between food and gas. But that's the reality now. I can't help but feel trapped in a system that wasn't built for people like me. I was told that education would be the key to my success, but all it's done is leave me with a pile of debt and no guarantee of a better future. And while I watch others climb up the ladder, I feel like I'm stuck at the bottom, looking up at something that feels increasingly out of reach. My friends are in the same boat. We talk about how hard it is, but no one has any real solutions. We're all just trying to make ends meet, hoping that one day, somehow, things will get better. We dream about the day we can afford a vacation, a car that's not falling apart, or a place where we don't have to worry about every little thing breaking down. But for now, those dreams feel as distant as ever. It's funny how quickly I've learned to bury my hopes. I used to dream about starting my own business, building something I could be proud of. I used to think about how I'd spend my weekends exploring new places, traveling the world. But now, those thoughts feel like fantasies, like things that are meant for people with more money, more stability. I've convinced myself that dreams are for later, after I've figured out how to get by. But every day that passes, I wonder if later will ever come. Some days, I find comfort in small wins, like making it to the end of the month without overdrawing my account, or paying off a small credit card balance. But even those moments are fleeting. They don't erase the nagging feeling that I'm running out of time. I've had to accept that the person I am right now, this person who is always worrying, always juggling bills and responsibilities, is who I am for now. But I also know that I can't keep living like this. I can't keep pushing my dreams aside, pretending like they don't matter. The hardest part is not knowing when things will get better, or if they ever will. But I'll keep going. Even when it feels like the world is against me, I'll keep going. Maybe that's all I can do, keep putting one foot in front of the other, and hope that one day, I'll get to live the life I've always dreamed of. Until then, I'll keep fighting, even if I can't see the way out. It's all I can do. I wake up to the familiar hum of my alarm, the one I've set to remind me that it's time to face another day in this relentless cycle. It's a bit later than I intended, and I already feel the pressure creeping in, this constant weight, always there, tugging at my chest. My stomach is tight with anxiety as I roll out of bed and glance at the stack of bills on the kitchen counter. They're a quiet reminder of what I've been avoiding, the reality that my income can't seem to keep up with the ever-growing cost of just living. The rent is due again this week. The car payment. The credit card statement. The insurance bill. They're all reminders that I'm not moving forward, I'm just treading water, trying desperately not to drown. I get ready for work with a sort of robotic efficiency, barely noticing the motions of getting dressed, brushing my teeth, grabbing my things. It's like I've done it so many times that it doesn't even register anymore. I throw a granola bar in my bag because breakfast is something I can't afford to spend time on, let alone money. I don't even remember the last time I had a proper meal in the morning. As I pull on my shoes, the realization hits again, I'm not living. I'm surviving. But it's not even a survival that feels empowering. It's exhausting. Every decision, no matter how small, is driven by a constant calculation of what I can afford. Do I drive to work or take the bus to save a few bucks? Do I need that extra coffee to get through the day, or can I make it without it and put the $3 toward my phone bill? Will this week's grocery trip stretch enough to cover both lunch and dinner, or will I end up eating the last of my ramen because it's all I can afford? It's a strange feeling to feel so disconnected from the future, as if I'm standing at the edge of a cliff, waiting for something to happen. I can't even remember the last time I had the luxury of thinking about what I want, let alone need, because my mind is so consumed with the never-ending list of things I have to pay for. And no matter how hard I try, no matter how much I cut back or sacrifice, it never seems to be enough. The world keeps moving forward, prices keep going up, and I keep falling further behind. I get into my car, and there's that nagging feeling again, the anxiety about the gas tank. It's only halfway full, but I know it's enough to get me through the week. I don't need to fill it up just yet. But still, every time I drive, I feel a pit in my stomach. Will this be the week I'll have to cut back on something important just to cover an unexpected expense? Will a flat tire or an oil change send me into a spiral of bills that I won't be able to pay on time? Work is no different. It's a never-ending grind of answering emails, checking off tasks, attending meetings that feel like they go nowhere. But the worst part is that I know my paycheck won't make it feel worth it. I keep waiting for the promotion that never comes, for the opportunity to prove myself, to show that I can be something more than just a cog in the machine. But it feels like no one cares. No one notices. I'm just another person filling a role in a system that's stacked against me. And the thought of trying to climb out of it seems so impossible. Every day I see my friends and coworkers talking about things I can't afford. They talk about vacations, new phones, trips to the movies, and eating out at nice restaurants. They talk about the things I dream of but know I'll never have, not anytime soon, at least. I smile and nod, but inside, I feel the sting of wanting something I can't even imagine for myself. It's the constant ache of being left behind, of knowing that no matter how hard I work or how much I sacrifice, I'm just not getting there. And I know I'm not alone. It's everywhere, this feeling of being stuck. I hear it in the voices of people I barely know, people who are all just trying to make it through. We're all doing the same thing, surviving. It's like we're caught in a system that demands so much but gives so little. We're supposed to be grateful for the scraps, supposed to be thankful for the tiny little victories of just getting by. But it doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like a trap. A never-ending loop of barely making it, always feeling like we're on the edge of losing everything. I think about what I've had to give up over the years. Dreams that used to feel real, things I thought I could work toward. I put off buying a house, traveling, going back to school. I tell myself that someday I'll go back to that art class I always wanted to take, that I'll finally learn how to play guitar, that I'll save up enough for a real vacation. But the truth is, those things just aren't on the table right now. They feel like pipe dreams, something that belongs to a version of me I'm not sure I'll ever be. Instead, I'm focused on the small, fleeting moments of calm. I tell myself that maybe one day things will be different. Maybe I'll finally catch a break. Maybe the economy will improve, or maybe I'll get that raise I've been asking for. But deep down, I know that it's not just about money, it's about the system that keeps us here, stuck in a cycle where the rich get richer, and we're left scrambling to keep up. On weekends, I spend my time at the park or at home, doing anything I can to distract myself from the gnawing worry. I go for walks, just to clear my head, but the whole time, I'm thinking about the bills that are waiting for me at home, about the cost of the car repair I keep putting off, about the groceries I'll need to buy even though I don't know where the money will come from. Sometimes, I wonder if I'll ever be able to get out of this. If there will ever be a point where I can breathe without the constant reminder of how much I owe, how much I still need to pay. I've been told that things will get better, that I just have to keep pushing through. But sometimes, I wonder if they will. If this is just how it's always going to be. And the more I think about it, the more hopeless it feels. There's always something to worry about. There's always something I have to save for or pay off. The weight of it doesn't ever seem to lift. It just shifts, from one thing to another, until I'm left wondering if I'll ever be able to get ahead. So I keep going. Day by day. But each day feels a little heavier. And I try to hold on to the hope that someday, things will be better. But sometimes, the hardest part is just getting through the next hour without breaking down, without feeling like I'm losing myself in the process. I don't know how long I can keep going like this. But all I can do is take it one step at a time. One bill at a time. One day at a time. And hope that somewhere down the line, things will change. Maybe they will. But for now, I'm just trying to survive. And maybe that's all any of us can really do. I think about money a lot. More than I ever thought I would at 25. Growing up, I was told that once I had a good job and went to college, I'd be fine. You know, work hard, follow the rules, and everything would fall into place. But somehow, I'm still not there. I've been out of college for almost 3 years, and every month feels like a fight. The hardest part is knowing that no matter how hard I try, it feels like I'm always running behind. It's like I'm caught in a system that I can't break out of. I work as an entry-level graphic designer. It's a decent job in terms of what I studied for, but it's not where I thought I'd be at this point. My salary barely covers my rent and basic living expenses. The rest of it? It gets swallowed up by student loans, credit card debt, and the constant little things, groceries, gas, medical bills. Sometimes it feels like there's no room to breathe. Rent just went up again. The building owner sent out the letter a few weeks ago, and I knew it was coming. I wasn't prepared for it, but I knew. It's always the same story, my income stays roughly the same, but my bills just keep getting bigger. It's like they know they can squeeze more out of me. I've tried budgeting. Honestly, I've tried so many times. I write down everything, track every penny, and tell myself this time, I'm really going to make it work. But then a surprise bill comes in, or something breaks down in the apartment, and it's like all that effort goes out the window. I end up swiping the credit card again, hoping that next month will be better. But next month never is. It's always a little worse. It's hard not to feel like I'm drowning when the numbers never add up. And the anxiety? It's constant. Some days, it's a quiet hum in the background, like a low-level buzz. Other days, it feels like it's suffocating me, I lie awake at night staring at the ceiling, running through all the ways I could cut back, all the things I could do to get ahead. Should I stop going out with friends? Should I sell my car? Should I pick up another part-time job? I tell myself I'll figure it out, that I just need to keep pushing, but it feels like there's no light at the end of the tunnel. I'm stuck in this cycle where I can't move forward. I'm just treading water, hoping I don't sink. What makes it worse is that I see so many of my peers thriving. They're traveling, buying homes, getting engaged, and I can't even remember the last time I bought something for myself that wasn't necessary. I went to a wedding a few months ago, and I saw how everyone else was dressed, new outfits, shiny shoes, and I couldn't help but feel this mix of jealousy and shame. I used to love shopping, but now every purchase feels like a betrayal to my bank account. I tell myself that I'm being smart, that I'm not like them, that I'm focusing on the right things. But it's hard to ignore that nagging feeling that everyone else is figuring it out while I'm stuck. It's not just the financial pressure that gets to me, it's how it affects everything else. The stress bleeds into my relationships. I don't go out with friends as much anymore, and I can't remember the last time I said yes to an invitation to grab drinks or go on a weekend trip. Even if I did, I'd feel guilty for spending the money. It's hard to connect with people when I'm so preoccupied with just trying to make it to the next paycheck. I've had to put so many dreams on hold. I've always wanted to travel, to see the world, but every time I think about it, I quickly realize that it's a fantasy. I can't even afford a weekend getaway right now, let alone an international trip. I used to think that I would be able to live in a city I loved, in an apartment that felt like home, but right now, I feel trapped in a place that's just a roof over my head. I had a dream of starting my own design studio. I've always loved the idea of being my own boss, creating something from scratch, and finding my own way. But every time I start thinking about it, I come back to reality. How can I start something when I'm barely scraping by? How can I take that risk when I'm already living paycheck to paycheck? The idea of starting a business feels completely out of reach. Even thinking about it makes me anxious. I've been working on side projects in the evenings, just to keep my skills sharp and try to save a little money. But the gap between what I dream about and what I can actually afford feels so wide. There are days when I feel completely overwhelmed. The weight of it all, the constant anxiety about money, it just drags me down. Sometimes it feels like I'm running on fumes, getting through the day, but never feeling truly rested, truly at peace. I tell myself it's just a phase. That things will get better once I pay off some debt, once I get that promotion, or once I start saving for the future. But in the back of my mind, I wonder if this is it, if this is just the reality of being a young adult in a world where the cost of living outpaces every possible wage increase. I try to cope the best I can. I meditate when I can make the time. I try to get outside, take a walk, do something to calm my mind. But no matter how much I try to practice gratitude, no matter how much I tell myself I should be thankful for what I have, there's still this gnawing feeling that I'm falling short. That somehow, I'm not living up to the potential I had as a kid. I look at my friends and family, and I can't help but compare myself. They seem to have it together, why don't I? But I keep going. I don't really have a choice. I've learned how to compartmentalize the stress, how to push through it, how to make myself keep moving even when it feels like I'm not getting anywhere. I don't know if things will get better. But I try to hold on to the hope that one day, I'll be able to look back and say that all this pressure, all this struggle, was worth it. That I'll make it out of this financial hole and finally breathe easy. I have to believe that things will change. Because if I don't, I'm not sure I'll have the strength to keep going. I wake up to the sound of my phone buzzing with a reminder that my rent is due. It's the kind of reminder that hits like a wave every month, and I wonder if I'll ever get used to the dread of it. The number on the screen makes my chest tighten every time. $1,200. It's not even the worst part, it's just the beginning. The rent isn't the only thing I have to worry about. I roll over, trying to ignore the sick feeling in my stomach. Maybe, if I lay here long enough, I can pretend that it's not there. I think about the bills piling up on the kitchen counter, the credit card payments, the utilities, everything that's already due and everything that will be due soon. How did I get here? I remember when I was younger, imagining what my life would be like. I thought by now, I'd be on solid ground, figuring out how to balance things, or maybe even getting ahead. Instead, I'm just treading water, and it feels like the current keeps pulling me under. I'm 24. I should have it together by now, right? The world expects that. Everyone around me seems to be thriving, buying homes, getting promotions, traveling. Meanwhile, I'm still scraping by in a cramped apartment with outdated furniture and a bank account that only seems to drain faster than it ever fills. The cost of living has skyrocketed in the past couple of years. Rent went up again this year, like it always does, but my job didn't offer me a raise that reflects any of it. I work at a local cafe, not a bad place to work if you're just starting out, but even with my full-time hours, I'm stuck in a cycle of barely scraping by. Every paycheck is a temporary fix, and by the time I pay for my necessities, rent, groceries, phone bill, the car insurance that I'm just holding on to avoid even worse trouble, I'm left with nothing. No room for fun, no room for the things I've always dreamed about doing. The trips to Europe that I pushed back again, the late-night walks with a friend to get coffee at the place I used to love but now can't afford. The worst part is the shame. I don't talk about it to my friends, how could I? They're living their own lives, their own version of getting ahead. How could I burden them with the weight of my financial mess? They don't know the half of it. They don't know how I stare at my bank balance every few days, calculating what I can spend without overdrafting. Or how I sometimes skip meals because I don't want to dip into what little savings I have left. Or how I scroll through social media, watching people my age doing things I'll never get to do, and feeling like I'm stuck in a place that wasn't meant for me. The longer I stay here, the harder it feels to imagine a way out. I try to distract myself, but it's hard. I've taken up reading again, something that used to bring me peace. Lately, I've been reading more fantasy novels, escapism, I guess. Something to give me a break from the constant pressure of my own life. In these books, people go on adventures, solve problems, and always manage to find a way to make things work. I wish I could find that kind of magic in my own life. If only there was a way to snap my fingers and make the bills disappear, to wake up and suddenly have a savings account with a few $1,000s in it, to get the kind of break that seems so far out of reach. But instead, I wake up and face the same reality every day. I look at the people who are managing to keep up and wonder how they're doing it. Maybe they have a trust fund. Maybe they're lucky. Or maybe they just don't worry the way I do. Either way, it doesn't matter. I have to get up and face the world, even if I'm exhausted. I tell myself that things will get better, eventually. But sometimes, it feels like eventually is just a word people use to convince themselves that the struggle will end someday. I cope by making little sacrifices. Skipping out on social events I can't afford, canceling plans that I'd love to follow through on but can't make the budget work. If someone suggests going out to dinner, I'm already thinking about how much it will cost and what else I'll have to put off if I say yes. I keep a mental list of things I can cut back on. This week, it's not buying the new shoes I've been eyeing. Next week, maybe it's skipping the new book I've been wanting to read. It feels like a never-ending series of decisions that lead me down a path of more and more limitations. Sometimes, I feel like I'm trapped in this system where expenses grow faster than income. Every time I think I have a handle on it, another unexpected bill pops up. The car broke down last month, and even though it wasn't a huge issue, it drained the little savings I had managed to put aside. That feeling of relief when I could afford a bit of breathing room is always short-lived. It feels like I'm always a step behind, and every time I try to catch up, something new takes me down again. I try to remind myself that I'm not alone. I hear people talk about the cost of living, about how so many of us in our 20s and 30s are struggling. But it doesn't feel like enough. Everyone says things will get better, but when? I keep trying to believe that my hard work will pay off, that the hours I'm putting in will eventually lead to something more. But there's no real roadmap. It's not like anyone hands you a guidebook when you enter the workforce. I wish there was someone who could tell me, "You're doing okay. Keep going." But instead, it's just me, facing the same challenges every day. I don't want to sound like I'm complaining. I know there are people out there with much worse problems, and I try to keep that perspective. But the truth is, I'm tired. I'm tired of constantly feeling like I'm on the edge, like I can't afford to make any mistakes. I'm tired of watching others live their lives, going places I can't go, doing things I can't afford. I've had to let go of so many dreams. I wanted to go back to school, maybe get a degree in something I really care about, but that's just not possible right now. I wanted to travel and explore the world, but that feels like a pipe dream. I've had to push so many things into the maybe one day category. I know it's normal to feel frustrated at this age, but sometimes it feels like I've been stuck in this loop for too long. I don't know when things will change, and sometimes I wonder if they ever will. But then again, I don't want to give up. There's a part of me that still holds on to hope, that someday, things will get better. I keep telling myself that this is just a chapter in my life, not the whole story. Maybe I'll look back on this one day and think, wow, I made it through that. For now, though, it feels like I'm just surviving. And I can't help but hope that someday I'll be able to live, not just survive. But for today, I get up, face the bills, go to work, and repeat. One day at a time. Maybe tomorrow will be the day I finally catch my breath. But even if it's not, I'll keep going. Because what else is there to do? I'm 26 now, but it feels like I've been stuck in this cycle forever. It's hard to even remember when it all started, when the pressure, the constant worrying about money, first became this overwhelming thing. There's no one big moment I can point to, no catastrophic event. It's just been this slow build, this endless, suffocating spiral where every time I think I'm catching my breath, I'm hit with another bill, another increase, another expense that I just can't avoid. It's not like I don't work hard. I do. More than I probably should. But it's never enough. I've got a decent job, sure, but it's one of those just enough to keep you working kind of jobs. The kind where you're given just enough money to scrape by, but not enough to actually live comfortably. I work as a marketing coordinator at a mid-sized firm. I'm grateful for the work, for the experience, but sometimes it feels like I'm trading hours of my life for a paycheck that barely keeps me afloat. Rent takes up half my income. That's just the reality of living in a city like this, everything's inflated. The rent's not even that bad compared to some people I know, but it still feels like I'm throwing money into a black hole every month. I've considered moving back in with my parents, but that feels like admitting defeat. Like a reminder that I'm not actually doing as well as I thought I would by this point. I see my friends posting their accomplishments, new apartments, vacations, promotions, and I'm left wondering where I went wrong. Food and transportation are the next biggest expenses. I pack lunch as much as I can, but sometimes it feels like I'm robbing myself of the few small comforts that keep me sane. A cup of coffee from the local shop used to be a nice pick-me-up, but now it feels like a guilty indulgence. I rarely take the subway anymore unless I have no choice. Instead, I walk, even though it takes longer, just to avoid the temptation of spending a few extra dollars. Every time I open my wallet, it feels like I'm making a trade-off, this for that, this for that. Do I buy groceries this week, or do I pay for gas? Can I afford to go out with friends, or do I skip it and save what little I have? It's not even the big things that break me, it's the constant small things. The surprise fee on the credit card bill, the hike in my car insurance, the fact that groceries are just more expensive every time I go to the store. It's like inflation has become this silent, invisible force that's growing in the background, eroding what little I can hold on to. I can barely keep up, and every day feels like a race I'm not winning. Emotionally, I'm exhausted. It's hard to talk about this with anyone, because I feel like I should be doing better by now. I should have more savings, a better plan, a clearer path ahead. But I don't. I don't even have a rainy day fund, because I'm living in the rain right now. I don't want to keep bothering my friends with the same complaints, but sometimes it feels like I'm the only one who hasn't figured it out. Everyone else seems to be going on vacations, buying new clothes, getting married, buying houses. I'm just here, scrapping by, one paycheck at a time. And then there are the dreams I had, dreams that I can't even entertain anymore. I used to think I'd be in a place by now where I could take some time off and travel, go backpacking through Europe or live abroad for a while. But those dreams seem so far out of reach now. It's like I'm looking at them through a fogged-up window. I want to buy a house one day, but that feels like a joke now. I don't even know if I'll be able to afford an apartment in the city in the next few years. How could I even think about a mortgage when I can barely handle rent? I used to want to take a week off, just to reset. I'd dream about going to the mountains, unplugging from everything, just breathing in some fresh air. But that seems impossible now. Taking a week off would mean losing out on a paycheck. It's hard to let go of the idea that maybe, just maybe, I'll catch a break if I keep pushing. But pushing feels like all I'm doing. There's no real sense of forward momentum. There's just this constant, cyclical struggle to stay afloat. I'm starting to think that I've been programmed to feel this way. Like I'm supposed to be struggling. That it's normal to live paycheck to paycheck, that it's expected to not be able to save for the future, that all of this is just part of the system. I keep telling myself that things will get better. I'll get a promotion, I'll find a better paying job, I'll make better choices. But even that feels uncertain. The world's not built for people like me, at least not anymore. The cost of living keeps climbing, and wages stay stagnant. It feels like the system's rigged, like I'm stuck in a hamster wheel that I'll never be able to escape. I wonder sometimes if I'm just a cog in this machine that doesn't care about me. I don't know if I'm ever going to get out of this hole. I try not to think about the future too much, because when I do, I just feel a pit in my stomach. How can I plan for the future when I can't even plan for next month? I think about what I want, about what I've always dreamed of, but those dreams seem more like distant memories now. I try to hold on to the idea that one day I'll be able to do the things I've always wanted to do. But some days, I'm not even sure I believe it. It feels like I'm just treading water, barely keeping my head above the surface. The worst part is, I don't know how to break out of this. I don't know how to change things. I'm working hard, but it's not enough. I keep asking myself if I'm doing something wrong, but then I realize I'm not. This is just the way it is for so many of us. We're doing everything we can, but it still doesn't feel like it's ever going to be enough. I keep telling myself that someday, things will be different. But sometimes, I wonder if I'm just lying to myself. Maybe this is what adulthood is supposed to feel like: overworked, underpaid, and always a few steps behind. I don't know how to make it better, but I keep waking up every day, going through the motions, trying to hold on to hope. Because even though it feels impossible, there has to be something better waiting at the end of this. At least I hope so. Right now, though, I'm just trying to survive. That's the only goal I can really hold on to. Get through today. Get through the week. Get through this year. And then maybe, just maybe, I'll figure out how to live again. I wake up every morning with a pit in my stomach, not because I'm still tired, though I usually am. No, it's because I know I'm about to face another day where I have to make choices that feel impossible. Money is the first thing on my mind, and it seems to seep into everything. Every decision I make throughout the day is tied to how far my paycheck will stretch, and, lately, it's not stretching far at all. I'm 25, which feels too old to still be trying to figure it all out, but too young to have a sense of security in this world that seems increasingly unstable. I graduated with a degree in communications, thinking that with hard work and some luck, I'd land a decent job and slowly build up a life that I could be proud of. Instead, here I am, struggling month to month, staring at my bank account and wondering how it's possible to be working full-time and still feel like I'm barely scraping by. I work as a content writer for a small marketing agency. It's not glamorous, but it's a job, and that's what I keep telling myself. Some days, I try to convince myself that things could be worse. I could be unemployed or stuck in a job I hate. But on days like today, it all feels like a constant uphill battle. I'm not just fighting to pay the bills, but I'm fighting the overwhelming feeling of being trapped. Every month, expenses rise. Rent keeps going up, health insurance premiums get higher, and utilities seem to spike for no reason. I get my paycheck, and before I even see it, I know it's already accounted for. My rent is the biggest chunk. It's not that my apartment is fancy, far from it, but it's in a location that's semi-decent, and I'm grateful for that. But every time I sign that lease renewal, I feel the weight of it. It takes nearly half of my paycheck. And then there are the little things that add up quickly: groceries, gas, insurance, the monthly subscription services I don't want to cancel because they're small luxuries that keep me sane. I know I should be more frugal, that I should cut back on my coffee runs, that I could stop paying for Hulu or Spotify, but it feels like there's no escape. I can't let go of the small comforts that keep me grounded. If I do, I feel like I'm going to lose a piece of myself. And then there's my student loan. I've been paying it off for 2 years now, but it feels like I'm making no progress. Every month, I pay just enough to cover the interest, but the principal remains the same. It's this constant reminder that I'm not moving forward. I feel like I'm running in place, and it's exhausting. I've tried to consolidate the loans, tried refinancing, but nothing seems to work. The interest rates are ridiculous, and the balance is so high that I wonder if I'll ever be able to pay it off. Sometimes I lie awake at night, staring at the ceiling, wondering how everyone else is doing it. I scroll through Instagram and see people my age buying homes, taking vacations, eating at fancy restaurants. I don't even remember the last time I went out for dinner with friends. I'm always the one who says, I can't afford that this month. I hate that I'm always the one who has to sit out. I've always prided myself on being independent and self-sufficient, but lately, it feels like I'm constantly asking for help. I borrow money from my parents to cover emergencies, and it kills me every time. I'm 25 years old, and I'm still asking for help. I've tried to budget, to plan, to save. But every time I think I'm on top of things, something unexpected happens, like a car repair or a medical bill. Last month, I had to get a new tire. It cost me more than I had, so I had to put it on the credit card. The interest rate is high, and now I'm paying off something that wasn't even part of my plan. I get anxious every time I open my banking app, wondering if I'll get hit with another overdraft fee. I've started tracking every penny, logging every expense, but it never seems to be enough. I keep thinking if I just work harder, if I just push a little further, I'll get ahead. But there's this quiet realization creeping in that the system is rigged. No matter how much I hustle, the gap between my income and my expenses is widening. It's a strange feeling, being stuck in a system that doesn't seem to care. I'm doing everything I'm supposed to do. I'm working hard, I'm paying my bills on time, I'm trying to save. But the costs of living keep rising, and it feels like my income stays the same. If I'm lucky, it'll inch up by a few dollars, but it's never enough to keep up with inflation. I'm stuck in this endless cycle, and I don't see a way out. I put off so many things I thought I'd have by now. I wanted to travel, to take time off and explore the world, but I can't even imagine affording a weekend trip at this point. I wanted to buy a car that wasn't falling apart, but my current one barely gets me to work. I wanted to get a dog, maybe a little companion to help with my loneliness, but there's no room in my budget for that. I've stopped dreaming about things that are too far out of reach. Instead, I've learned to live in the present, even if the present feels like a tightrope walk. I cope the best way I can. I drink a lot of coffee, probably too much, but it's my one indulgence. I've started to exercise more, because I know that when I'm physically tired, my mind isn't as overwhelmed. I journal my thoughts, trying to make sense of all this pressure, trying to remind myself that I'm doing the best I can. But some days, I feel defeated. I feel like I'm just surviving. I wonder if this is what adulthood is really supposed to feel like I'm always one step behind, always playing catch-up. I want to believe that things will get better. I want to believe that one day, I'll find some kind of stability. But right now, it feels like my dreams are further away than they've ever been. I'm trying to hold on to hope, but I wonder how much longer I can keep doing this. How much longer I can keep pushing myself before I break. Thank you for watching until the end. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel so you won't miss new videos. Also, leave a comment, I'd love to hear your thoughts. Your support and engagement mean a lot to me. See you in the next video.